Picked off there by Weegar. He rushes it over the line. On the wing, it's Verhaeghe in front, waiting. Verhaeghe scores! Barkov and Verhaeghe, beautiful! And the Panthers have the lead 2-1.
Welcome to Project Panthers, a weekly podcast discussing your Florida Panthers. Now, here's your host, Brunswick.
What a week, what a week, what a week. I am your host, Brunswick. The show is Project Panthers. And what a week it's been in Panther territory. You can find us on YouTube or SoundCloud by searching Project Panthers. You can find us also on Twitter at Proj Panthers, that's P-R-O-J Panthers, and on Instagram at Project Panthers Pod. Panthers record currently sits at 6-1-2, finally earning a loss this week in regulation. Lots of up and downs to get through this week, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Cat's first game of the week was against the Predators, first time seeing them this season, and they got off to a great start. Jonathan Huberdeau must have heard the podcast last week. You know what, I'm pretty sure he did. He definitely did, right? Because boy, did he come out possessed in this one. He scored 128 into the game on a pretty nice breakaway goal, did not give up the effort and tapped it in on the backhand on his second opportunity. Teams exchanged some goals in the first period. It was a pretty active first period, and it ended up 2-2 after one. But in the second period, the Panthers' power play took over. They scored twice in the period and finished 2 for 4 on the night. They continued to perform well on the power play. Lots of opportunities up front, in front of the net, but also the playmaking ability of the guys on the outside of the power play, allowing Hornqvist to cause chaos in the middle, and having, Ekblad, Barkov, and Huberdeau on the outskirts. And, of course, Yandel as well. He's not going to shy away from his offensive talents. It's a great mix right now, and they have a really good flow going with that group on the top line. Would love to see some more from the second power play unit, but on nights like this, the second power play unit barely even gets on the ice because the top unit is so dominant. Panthers look really good in this second period. I was really impressed with their play. They kept taking it to Soros, and he wasn't having his best game, but he wasn't having his worst game either. I think the team just came out to play in the second period, and they showed their talent on the power play. And Soros struggled with that along with the entire Preds team. Defensively, they couldn't adapt to the space that the Panthers had on the power play. One thing I noticed through 2 periods was the speed that the Predators had through the neutral zone. It was concerning. They scored a lot of their goals on odd man rushes where the Panthers were caught flat-footed and not moving their feet. Nashville has a deceptively fast team. Their forwards can really move out there, and if they catch you not moving your feet, skating backwards as they pressure the offensive zone to get into the zone, they smell blood if they see you're not moving your feet. And we saw that constantly throughout this night. Lots of odd man rushes, the team leaving Bobrovsky out to dry. It was tough to watch at times. A guy like Philip Forsberg on the Predators is so talented. When he sees that open ice and he sees that space, he will find his man if they're open. What I liked from Q in the third period was seeing his adjustment. The way to adjust for a team that's pressures through the neutral zone and has a ton of speed as they get through the neutral zone is to leave a third man back. So when your offense is in the offensive zone, pressuring and forechecking, you leave a third man back. You let 2 guys go down low and you leave a third man back. What this does is allow that third man to be higher in the offensive zone so that if Nashville gets the puck back, starts skating back up the ice, you now have, instead of just 2 defensemen back on the blue line, you have now a third man, often the center. The center is often the guy who stays back in hockey. That is their defensive responsibility, unless the play develops differently, obviously. But traditionally, the center is the one that plays pivot. That's why their role is known as pivot. So they would skate back with the defenseman to make sure that it's not too significant of an odd man rush and that all positions are covered when the opposition starts to pressure. I saw this adjustment from Q, and I really was impressed by that because it's one thing to just tell the guys to do it, but to hammer it home and have them actually execute is great coaching, and I was really, really happy to see that. It slowed Nashville down for the majority of the third period. They weren't able to get the chances that they were getting in the first 2 periods, and through just about 18 minutes, the Panthers had success. But unfortunately, Nashville managed to get a goal back with the goalie pulled. Rinne came in in the third to take over for Soros, was unstoppable, stopped every Panthers shot, all 12 of them, in relief. And Nashville got within one. It was a weird play, shot off the point. Puck got deflected in, and for some reason, the Panthers coaching staff felt that it was hit with a high stick. So they challenged the play in what might be one of the worst coaching challenges I've ever seen in any sport ever. This includes football, now baseball, and hockey. Very disappointed in this. I guess I'm not too sure if Coach Q got word from up above that they were convinced this was a high stick and not a goal. I'm not too sure where the information came from. Q didn't express if it was a decision he made himself or if the coaching staff saw something or if someone noticed a stick too high. But based on the replays we saw on Fox Sports Florida, there was no high stick. There weren't any high sticks in the vicinity. Everything was below the waist or around the waist. So I don't know where they got their intel from, but it didn't seem correct, and it cost the Panthers dearly for many reasons. And eventually the Predators scored on the ensuing power play because the Panthers lost the challenge. Predators went up 6-4 now in men after pulling their goalie. And of course they scored with less than a minute left, tying the game 5-5. So just under 58 minutes into the game, the Panthers had a 5-3 lead, and going into overtime, they were tied 5-5. I'm really disappointed by Q with this decision. I thought this was a really great moment to galvanize a squad of players that were still relatively new to each other. This is a team with a lot of new players, and they can struggle to find their identity, especially early on in the season. This was a chance to carve out a bit of that identity, and I didn't see Q give the trust in his team. The risk versus reward of challenging this play, I did not understand. I still don't understand, and now we're 3 days later. You trust your team to hold on to a 5-4 lead, and it seemed to me that he didn't trust his team to do it, to hold on. And as a player, I would feel a little frustrated with that the coach doesn't think that we can get the job done. Now, would Nashville have scored on a 6-on-5 opportunity instead of a 6-on-4 opportunity? It's possible. It's very possible. It happens all the time. Teams do come back from 2 goals down with only minutes left. It happens. We'll never know for sure. But I really wanted to see Coach Q show some confidence in his young squad and give them a chance to prove themselves. And he didn't. And that can be a frustrating feeling from a player's standpoint. So going into the overtime period, the team felt somewhat demoralized, and the energy wasn't really there in the overtime period. They had a couple of chances, as you always do in overtime, but play was sloppy, and overtime ended when Wennberg gave the puck away at the blue line. He walked in uncontested. Ekblad moved up the ice before Wennberg had control of it. There was a weird play, though. Two Nashville guys came off the bench. One of them had the puck hit their skate, and whistle wasn't blown. Play was not blown dead for too many men or anything. Ekblad even called for it, but that doesn't matter. Ekblad was already up on the ice. He was already almost past the red line when Forsberg knocked the puck off Wennberg's stick and broke in free for a breakaway and scored his 5th point of the night, 2nd goal. It was frustrating to see, and I know the guys were exponentially more frustrated than us fans were. They had the game on their stick, and they had the game right there for their taking, and they lost it. But that's the ebb and flow of a regular season in the NHL, right? That's the ebb and flow. Main takeaways from this game: Jonathan Huberdeau, first career NHL hat trick. Hard to believe, right? For a guy this talented who puts up the kind of offense that he does. His first career NHL hat trick this late into his season. He's all into his career. He's already the all-time Panthers leader in points scored. But just now, he is getting his first hat trick. Maybe he got some advice from Nola Chari about the hat trick stuff, since that guy seems to eat up hat tricks for lunch. I also thought Bob was great in this game. Sorry, not great, but good. Good enough. Definitely can't blame him for a night like this. The team collapsed in front of him countless times. He did what he could. But if a guy like Matt Duchene is wide open with an empty net facing him, what do you expect Bobrovsky to do? Now, would you have liked to have seen him make more saves in big key situations? Yes. You're paying a guy $10 million to make those key saves. But nothing in this game I would blame Bob for. Nothing. The team did not show up defensively for most of the game. And the 5 goals is a result. The last 3 goals that led to the Panthers losing, again, none are his fault. You can't blame Bob for Philip Forsberg walking in on a breakaway in overtime and beating him through the 5-hole. Philip Forsberg is one of the best shooters in the game. It happens. Hornqvist, again, another great player, another great game from him. Just so much effort, so much energy, so much just chaos that this guy causes. I know I keep talking about it, but he is the key to this power play. He makes this power play work right now. And my other takeaway from this game is Mackenzie Weegar. I think he's had a bit of a rough start to the season. I really don't like his over-the-top fancy plays in the defensive zone. I feel like once a game I see him try and attempt a deke or move around a pressuring offensive player that results in a turnover. We saw it in this game. Nashville almost scored on a 2-on-0 down low because Weegar tried to do a deke in his own face-off circle, trying to get around a defenseman to make some room for himself to get into the neutral zone. I don't understand that. Make the smart play. Make the play off the boards. It's the safest play in hockey. I don't know why he's not doing it. It's frustrating to see because he's a very talented player, but he seems to be. I'm not too sure what it is. I don't know if it's overconfidence or if it's just lack of focus on plays like that. I'm not too sure, but I would like to see less of that kind of stuff from Mackenzie Weegar. Cats were right back in action the next night against the Predators again, so not a lot of time to sit and dwell on that loss, which is great in a season like this. It really helps move on. You don't sit there for 4 or 5 days dwelling on a loss. You got to get right back into it. It's right away. Panthers are about to play something like 50 games in 94 nights or 96 nights. I'm sure my numbers there are incorrect, but it's a lot of hockey in not a lot of time. So what I wanted to see from the team coming into this game was to come out with purpose and effort, especially after a demoralizing loss like the night before. I want to see them come out guns a-blazing, as they say. Nights like the 6-5 loss can do a lot to a team's psyche. Some teams can respond well, and others can cave in on themselves. And thankfully, like I said, playing the next day gets you that shot right away. But unfortunately, things don't always go the way you want them to go, right? Nashville scored really early on. They scored first on a Colton Sissons goal that looked very much like a goal from the previous night. Preds coming through the neutral zone with a ton of speed. Cats getting caught flat-footed defensively, and the Preds get into the net with little defensive effort, and they scored. It was a bit of a fluke play as Sissons was stopped actually on the initial shot by Drieger, but the puck actually bounced off of Drieger's pad, off of Sissons' skate, and slowly coasted by Drieger as he lost sight of it and into the net. Tough play, but it's okay. It happens. What I liked from this was the response from the team after this goal. They didn't cave in on themselves. They didn't lose confidence. They kept going. They stuck to their game plan and kept playing the way they should. Pekka Rinne was phenomenal in this game. It looked like Pekka Rinne from old. 6 to 7 years ago. It looked like Pekka in his prime. Not a 38-year-old goaltender in the twilight of his career. It was impressive to see, and Pekka's been one of my favorite goaltenders throughout his career. Big guy who's very athletic, uses his size really well. He's an amazing goaltender, and as much as I, want to see the Panthers win, it was nice to see Pekka finding flashes of his old form in this game because he looked on fire. They went into the first intermission down 1-0 after that Sisson's goal, despite outshooting the Predators 20-5 in the first period. 20-5. That's one hell of a tip to be on for an entire period. They picked up right where they left off in the second period, though. And I think the second period was the Alexander Barkov show. He was all over the ice in this one. He scored the tying goal on an absolutely gorgeous pass from Carter Verhaeghe. Found Barkov streaking in on his on the left wing, threaded a pass through, I think, 3 or 4 players. Honestly, 3 or 4 players. Found Barkov open on the back door and finally managed to get one past Pekka Rinne. Mackenzie Weegar actually had a really nice play on this goal. He pinched in the neutral zone and intercepted a pass from the Predators, giving the puck to Carter Verhaeghe and allowing for this goal to happen. Without that play from Weegar, this goal does not happen. So great little play by him there. And Verhaeghe is, Verhaeghe. What a great player so far. 10 minutes later, Barkov returned the favor and Verhaeghe got his 6th goal of the season. These two continue to show some incredible chemistry. Between Verhaeghe and Hornqvist, I don't know what's been the better addition to the lineup. Hornqvist is obviously Hornqvist, but Verhaeghe's the right kind of talent, the right kind of speed, the right kind of vision for a guy like Barkov to play with. He's just the right amount of gritty, too. He's got some grit to his game. He's a slightly smaller guy, but he doesn't shy away from the corners, and for a guy like Barkov who loves to work in a ton of space, Carter creates a little bit of space for him. So it's been fun to watch over the first 8 games of the season. After this goal, the Panthers continued their onslaught and had a ton of great chances to end the second and pretty much the first half of the third period, where Rinne continued to turn them down repeatedly. This was the best game of the season for him so far, no question. I haven't watched a lot of Nashville games. Obviously, I'm very focused on the Panthers, but he hasn't looked like this very often. Soros had a very rough game in the first, and as I mentioned before, Rinne came in relief in the third period, and he ended up this game, and combined with this game and the third period from the previous game, stopped 46 of 48 shots from the Panthers. That's a pretty impressive tip, almost a .960 save percentage. So great to see Rinne back in form, but hopefully he doesn't return to that form all the time when he faces the Panthers. The third period, you knew the third period was going to be a test for the Panthers because going to this game, the Predators had outscored their opponents 8-2 in the last chunk of games in the third period. And boy, did they came to play in the final stanza. Weegar shut the door. It was a pretty quiet night for him in the first 2 periods, but he stepped up big time in the third period, including a great shoulder save on former Florida Panther legend Erik Haula with only 17 seconds left in the game. Another little neutral zone breakdown. Again, it happens. You don't love to see it in the last minute of the game, but Haula got in and Weegar shut the door down. Cats got the victory on a tight 2-1 win, which is a great galvanizing victory for a team like this. I love that word, galvanizing, if you can't tell already. Cats improved to 6-0-2 after this one, and this was the kind of game the Cats needed to have. It was a stellar performance defensively where they didn't really have too many breakdowns. The one knock I can say on them defensively in this game was the struggles they had with clearing the puck. I found that a lot of times some of the attempts to get the puck out of the zone were a bit weak, but again, they played pretty solid defensively, tightened up a lot of things from the previous game, a lot of great coaching adjustments, and it paid dividends on the ice. Main takeaways from this game was, again, the energy that they came out with, the response from after a tough loss the night before. It's easy to get down on yourself and sort of give up any effort in the following night, but they came out determined to get those 2 points, and it was really great to see. It's great to see from a team like this, especially after last season when you could see the confidence levels in this roster and a lot of like, oh, here we go again type of stuff from the team. When they face some sort of adversity, like Nashville scoring the first goal in this game. I feel that last year's team maybe wouldn't have responded in the same way. Although they were okay at coming back at times, they would sort of look into themselves instead of looking outwards for explanations or for answers. And not always the best thing for a hockey team. So I was really impressed with their response in this game. Also, Eetu Luostarinen was moved up to the second line in the middle of this game. Alex Wennberg down to the third line. Slightly disappointing move for the team. I mean, I know Wennberg and the team had some relatively high expectations for Wennberg coming in, hoping that he would find his offensive game playing with Huberdeau and Hornqvist and could become a solid offensive contributor in the NHL again. Defensively, he's pretty stellar and reliable in his own zone, but offensively, you want a guy to perform when he's on the second line because you need that depth beyond just your first line to be a successful team in the league. And E2 has been playing well. I think he is very noticeable in his first 8 games. He's all over the ice, wins faceoffs, responsible defensively. I think he's still on the smaller side. I think he could benefit from gaining a bit of weight, but that's an off-season thing. That'll come as time goes, and as we've seen with players like Huberdeau, as you mature physically, your game will change, and that will come for him. But I think he's got a lot more offensive upside than Wennberg does, and playing with a guy like Huberdeau will just infest this guy with confidence. It will give him a real shot of proving himself to be a solid everyday NHLer that can contribute offensively and defensively. I thought his impact on the second line was immediate. You could see right away his feistiness, his effort down low led to a few scoring chances for Hornqvist and Huberdeau, and I can't see him leaving that line. And unless things change drastically, this will likely be his line until either another player is acquired or Anton Lundell comes over from Finland, because Luostarinen has been a very impressive piece to that Trocheck trade so far. I look forward to seeing him continue to grow in a Panthers sweater. And faceoffs were huge in this game. Panthers won 59.7% of their draws. This was a point of contention for Panthers fans going into this game. A lot of games this season, they were on the negative side of the faceoff draws, and that can really affect the team's results and standings over the course of a long season. If you don't win key faceoffs at key moments, well, it can lead to key opportunities for the other team. So you want to make sure you're getting puck possession off the draw as much as possible. And in this game, the Panthers did, and it showed. The results showed. Barkov was 12 for 17, and E2 was 10 for 12. When your top two centers are winning over 75% of their faceoffs, that's a recipe for success almost every time. Cats' third game of the week was up against the Red Wings, so another familiar opponent for the Cats after a new one with the Predators. Wings came out with some urgency in this one, but the Cats weathered the early storm and took over for most of the first period. The top line was absolutely dominant in this first period and continues to toy with other teams defensively. Duclair had another really good chance on the side of the net, and he's really due for a goal. That kid is really skating out there, and he's showing some frustrations on the ice for clearly not being able to finish these chances. And it's unfortunate to see right now, but once he gets one, it's gonna start coming for him. So he's just got to keep staying focused and trying to bury his chances. Gudas laid a huge hit on Glendening halfway through the first period, and with 19 hits in his previous 2 games against the Predators, he was picking up right where he left off in this one. But Detroit, after a pretty good first period, Detroit scored early in the second period. The team kind of stopped moving their feet, and Detroit really took advantage after pressuring the Panthers early. Mark Stahl ended up scoring the goal on a weird deflection. He broke through into the front of the net, beat Drieger on the backhand, and the Red Wings are up 1-0. They did not let up from there, though. They continued to pressure the Panthers throughout the entire period, and honestly, the Panthers had a lot of missed assignments in this period and in this game in general. They seem to struggle. When they're off defensively, they are really off defensively, and it can fall. The wheels can fall off the wagon pretty quickly, it seems, with this team. They really need to stay focused to their game plan and concentrate on getting pucks out and doing the easy play. And that was shown with the Red Wings scoring late in the second period. Giovanni Smith took advantage of a absolutely terrible play by Keith Yandle in his own zone. He tried to make a pass to the left side of the ice, just didn't have enough power on it. He hesitated to make his decision. Red Wings pressured. Giovanni Smith took advantage. Just a careless play from Yandle, and it seems like over the last few games, Yandel's been getting back to his old ways, which is unfortunate to see. I mean, he's still delivering stuff offensively, and to be honest, his offensive game has never been in question. It's what he brings defensively in his own zone, and it's been disappointing to see him regressing back to old ways. With the lack of offense the Panthers had in this game and being down 2-0 late in the second, Q started shuffling the lines more. He put Barkov and Huberdeau back together, and he tried everybody on their wing. Verhaeghe, Hornqvist, Tippett, Duclair, I believe I saw out there. I believe he's just trying to generate more offensive depth and more offense from just the first line of Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Duclair. They are the most consistent line for pressure on a shift-to-shift basis, and I guess Q's just trying to spread that out because the Panthers are lacking in scoring depth, and we'll get more to that later. But the Cats ended up scoring 2 minutes and 9 seconds into the third period, so a little bit of momentum shift there for the Panthers. You'd think Wennberg finally got his first of the season on a nice little deflection off of Stralman's shot from the point. Nice to see Wennberg get a goal in this one. He had a good game, one of his better games as a Panther. A little more noticeable on the ice after maybe he took the demotion after Lewis Starden was promoted to the second line. I guess he took it to heart and came out with a much stronger effort in this one. But unfortunately, the goal did not help the Cats because Detroit continued to pressure immensely. They ended up getting the 2-goal lead back on a Ryan Fabry goal, and this was another missed assignment in their own zone. Fabry was wide open in the slot, and he came in on Verhaeghe and just scored easily. So many mistakes in this one defensively. The Cats really, they focus a lot on their offense, but they just, when they lose it defensively, they seem to lose it a lot. So it was tough to see. They pressured late in this one, but they gave up the empty netter to Nemesnikov, and the Cats finally had their first regulation loss of the 2021 NHL season. It's got to happen eventually, right? The team's not going to win every single game. This was kind of one of those games that is going to go Detroit's way. You know, the Cats had an 8-game winning streak against the Red Wings going into this one, so eventually that's got to give, right? And it did tonight. They didn't have their feet under them. They had a lot of chances, but they just couldn't put the puck home past a really impressive Thomas Greiss. And one of my main takeaways from this game is exactly that. Thomas Greiss, he played a phenomenal 60 minutes for the Red Wings in net, finally earning the Red Wings their first victory from another goalie besides Jonathan Bernier since 2019. Since the calendar year of 2019. And I believe it was early in 2019, somewhere in October. So that's almost 18 months of one goaltender registering a win for your franchise. So nice for Greiss to get that after a really solid performance, despite being at the expense of the Panthers. He seems to always have this team's number. I mean, we go back to the 2015 playoff series against the Islanders. You know what? Trocheck was tripped, right? All that nonsense. But Greiss was the real story of that series. He was on fire, and it was a lot of that. And Cats fans will be remiss to forget that, but you know, it won't happen. It won't happen, unfortunately, because Greiss seems to always get their number, and this was another one of those nights. It was an impressive performance by him, but with all that said, I think the Cats were too cute with the puck. They tried too many fancy plays, won too many passes. I remember there was a specific play in the second period where the Cats had a really nice bang-bang play from side to side, but Barkov chose to make the extra pass instead of shooting into a wide-open net that Greiss had left open after trying to cover, following a series of impressive passes from the Cats. Just too cute with the puck, too fancy, and it was a problem last season, and I hope this doesn't become a problem again this season. They really need to get goals from a lot of different sources, and playing cute with the puck does not work. Also, Owen Tippett had a pretty good game. I think probably his best game of the season as a Panther. Quenneville rewarded him with some time on the first line with Barkov and Huberdeau. He's got one of the most wicked shots I think I've ever seen in a Panther uniform. Just a laser of a wrister. Almost took Greiss's head off in the third period. So it was nice to see him get rewarded with a little bit extra ice time. And speaking of Owen Tippett, that brings me to my 2 points. Yes, the world famous segment of Project Panthers, known as 2 points. 2 points in hockey is the most important thing. You want to get the W. So here are my 2 points that I take away from this week watching the Panthers play. My point number 1 is the aforementioned Owen Tippett. He's still finding his game, and I think some fans are getting a bit frustrated with the lack of production from him and the lack of his name showing up on the score sheet, but it's still early in his career. You know, he's still only 21 years old. That's young, very young. He led Springfield in scoring last year despite losing time to injury. He's still growing. Not all prospects are hits right off the bat and score 4 goals in their first game like Austin Matthews did for the Leafs. Jack Hughes, number 1 pick 2 years ago, took 8 games to get his first NHL point, and Alexis Lafreniere, who is arguably the highest touted prospect since Matthews and McDavid, has 1 goal in his first 10 games with the Rangers. So, you know, as NHL fans, we've been spoiled in recent years seeing young players make a big splash right away. I mean, Elias Pettersson, McDavid, Rantanen. There's plenty of examples around the league, but we got to give Owen Tippett some time. He's already improved compared to his first game of the year, and I think his confidence will come as the goals come and as the assists come. And I honestly think he will be the most improved Panther player by the end of the season. Point number 2 is the Panthers' lack of scoring depth. It's a problem that finally caught up to them in Game 9 against the Red Wings. You can't expect your top line to carry you offensively in every single game. It just won't happen. It's just not going to happen. And they're just not getting scoring from other sources. And now, as I said, it's caught up to them. Toronto had his game-winning goal in OT, and Heppo had his OT winner as well. But other than that, and 2 goals from Luo Starinen, it is zeros across the board. Connolly, Achari, Vetrano, Wennberg, these guys are all vets that have been playing time in the bottom 6, and you expect some production from them. They play the game well, but they need to start producing. This team is extremely top-heavy right now offensively. Yandel and Ekblad are outscoring our bottom 6 by a margin of 5-3 this season. That is cause for concern. Hopefully they get the ball rolling soon because this team needs that depth scoring throughout the long season. It's not going to be Huberdeau with 5 points every game. It's not going to be Barkov with 3 points every game. It's not even going to be Carter Verhaeghe with 2 points every game. It's unsustainable to rely on them game in and game out. So really hope this starts to turn around because this could be a problem sooner rather than later. Caps record is now 6-1-2. Detroit is next on the docket for the Panthers. Then it's going to be 3 straight games against the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is going to be the real first true test for the Panthers this season. I'm really hoping to see some more consistency from them defensively and, as I said, more spread out offense. It's got to get there for this team to have sustainable long-term success. Thanks for listening to Project Panthers. I am Brunswick. Really appreciate you spending this time with me this week again. You can find us on YouTube and SoundCloud at Project Panthers. Also on Twitter at Proj Panthers. That's PROJ Panthers. And also on Instagram at Project Panthers Pod. Appreciate you listening to this and have a week.